Okay, so we said here yesterday, this is the before to show that when they used, this was under the Constitution Act. They had that idea, like, let's just give English and French their own language to have governments in, and their own areas to have governments in. And so that's why you had Upper Canada that had government was conducted in English, but still the decisions were only made by the rich, wealthy people for their own means. And even in Lower Canada, where there was the majority of population and they were French speakers, they were allowed to have government practices in their own language of French, but still the decision makers were still elite, wealthy, and mostly white Englishmen. So that was leading to these rebellions and revolutions and stuff, as you had on the previous pages, right? They sent the list of criticisms or demands to Britain. There were reformers, there were rebels, was looting, fires and things like that. People were hung for treason. You know, all of that kind of rebelling and stuff was still happening. And so then they sent in a new governor that said, like, clean this up because we want to be done with all these revolutions. And the new recommendation was this thing called the Act of Union, which just removed all of the separation. So now after the revolution, you've got one Canada. They called it East and West, but this is when we can start looking at it as ridings. So one province, they called it Province of Canada, and you had part of it had a riding, and they had X number of people, politicians elected to represent that population. The other riding, they had the same number of politicians to represent those voters. And they had some things that were unfair. There were some unfair parts to this, and I guess I could do this in a different, unfair elements, like that the larger French population was given the same amount of votes as the smaller English population. So it's not like more people got more say in government. This was an effort to kind of minimize the French decisions or French views in votes. And government was now held in English. They didn't have a French language version of it. So those two elements, this is year 1 and this is year 2. So again, we're doing this for the goal of assimilating the French into becoming more English, or things around them happening in the English language. So that was the after, and we wrote this all yesterday. So then I'd like it if you could write this on the following page. And why did they do that? Why are they, Britain is being less and less serious maybe about this colony, is because their goal of the colony was shifting. They no longer needed to use this colony for its resources. Remember, initially they were using it for mercantilism. They wanted to keep it controlled, keep it dominant, keep it, what's the right word, where it needed to rely on Britain. They didn't need that reliance anymore. So they had wanted less control of the colony. They were willing to give the colony more of their own decisions. So that's why they finally offered them responsible government, where it's the choices of the people. This is the last page of our 4.5 section. We wrote some additional notes there yesterday. So the next governor that came in was given some free rein, and he believed that they needed to govern with the will of the people. So no more of the elites kind of blocking and vetoing the desires of the lower population or the colonists and then getting their own way. Responsible government meant that the majority of the needs of the majority people, what the majority of the population needed, would be heard, and that's how government would rule. Do you have your phone with you?
No, I did not.
Good, okay, thanks. And you'll see soon, eventually Britain's going to kind of back right off, and they're just going to say, we're done with this nonsense and you guys deal with it there. It's at
Why does it? Oh, okay, sorry. The top of the F was cropped off on shifting gold, the quality, and I was
well, it would have been spelt wrong.
I was a bit confused.
It would have been spelt wrong. Okay.
I know, I thought. Okay, yeah.
Let's just have an honest history class, shall we?
No, I swear, that's why I was confused.
No, I'm saying I'm going to start using honest language. Isn't that refreshing?
So I can?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, so I can say what I was about to say?
No, I'm kidding.
What, shitting gold?
Yeah, shitting gold.
That's what I'm saying right now anyways. So.
Whatever, I don't want to hear about it.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, so that resolves that. I think we just have this one handout of the videos that you watched to go through. And then we have one assignment for this unit, and we might be done it.
Wasn't there a test on this before, like May long?
What's that? No, we won't write a test before May long, no.
The comprehension questions?
You want us to go through them again? Oh, no, the one, remember you guys watched some videos on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday? Okay, yep. Are you good there? Everything's good? I have a question here that I could write down for you to consider. I wonder if you'd be able to answer it. Should I give you a question towards the end?
Maybe.
Here is a question to consider. How did the Constitution Act, which made Upper and Lower Canada, lead to or trigger the Act of the Union? What issues came up because of the Constitution Act that then led to or had an impact on the Act of Union, believed to be the resolution to those issues, right? And you really can look, I'm just going to move it for a second, you really can look here for a clue of it, right? You should be able to see the issues, different governments in different languages, yeah, and especially a growing dissent because the power of choices was out of the hands of the majority of people. And that's why they were rebelling. And again, that was how America came, through revolution and rebelling. And so Britain was concerned they were about to lose more. So then they had to make some changes there. So take even more of their rights away. So that is that.
So that's how to answer that question, just there were differences between the two.
Yeah, it was escalating. The tension between the two cultures was escalating. And the tension between the people with power, decision-making power, and those without was escalating, right?
I think I took that one too.
Oh. Do you want another copy quick? I can print one. Okay, so that is that. I'll just go get this other one quickly, but then the next one you're looking for looks like this. It is 452. It looks like this, okay? And really, I'm not going to write anything for that first question because essentially...
Wait,
Is this the
I
new
did
one?
this.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
Okay, that's fine.
But you
You
told
were
us to
thinking
do
of the
it.
other.
I told you to do it, but you guys also said, will you go through the questions with
Yes.
us? And I said
Oh,
yes.
right.
It was literally in my pile before I left my locker.
That's fine, that's fine. I didn't tell you the number of it either, so that's fine. And while you were out there, Jess, I just added, like, there's a question that you could consider, that I asked them to think about, like, what issues were caused by the Constitution Act that had to be resolved, and then their effort at resolving it was the Act of Union. So, like, the question here is, how did the Constitution Act, the creation of Upper and Lower Canada with an English government and a French government, and that separation, how did that trigger them coming up with this Act of Union, which then created one province with ridings?
Would that be because you were sick of the politics of it all?
Yeah, like it was the growing conflict between English and French, and growing conflict between the rich and poor, that kind of stuff. So that's that. Okay, so we'll save that. Okay, I'm gonna move on to this one. So I'm not even gonna, like, this is just in the handout, right? In the 4.5 to Canada's handout. But it should have looked familiar to you because it was in, cartoons, and they kind of dumbed it down in a way, right? Okay, so how are the people and the lifestyles diverse, and what issues was that causing for the government? You could say here, this is the 1820s to 30s. And we've already said you've got rich versus poor. You've got English versus English rich versus French poor, right? Because they were farmers.
Renters.
Some of them farmers, some of them renters, yes. Specifically, these guys are afraid of being assimilated. I don't know how much you wrote down and how much room you've got. Are they full? If you have some of these things, then you can put check marks beside them then, right? We have the separation of cultures. So we've already got that. You could say, upper versus lower Canada, different culture. And this is where it's similar to Americans, we'll say to patriots, colonists, growing angry at taxation, but not needs met. So those are the issues that the English had to squash. If it's a smoldering smoke of a fire, they need to put it out before it gets large and implodes on them like the American Revolution did. Who were the Tories?
Supported British systems and probably were loyal to the British connection.
Yeah, so essentially they're still the loyalists, still supported Britain's control. But also they benefited, right?
Is there like any movies about this stuff?
Movies? It's not very,
The Patriot, no, but.
yeah, but it's not very entertaining, I guess. I don't know of many.
What would be like,
There are some television shows that get into some of the stuff, like Outlander has covered some of this stuff. Not necessarily from a Canadian perspective, but the American Revolution and that kind of, colonists versus the British authority coming in and that kind of stuff. Outlander.
search up to look for that?
Yeah, you could definitely look up, I think it would be the last season and the current season. And that's been an interest, I don't know if you know Outlander?
Yeah, my cousin's friend is they needed native man to play, so he chases his name, he plays him out.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's a unique perspective, so.
I thought that was like a Vikings type.
No. Well, not Vikings, Highland Scots, right? Like older era than that, but then it goes, catches up because they've all time traveled now, but anyway.
And how come we never hear anything about Scotland?
Scotland, what would you like to know?
Yeah, I'm convinced it doesn't.
Actually,
Wait.
this guy-
How about we throw you a box of mail, you there?
Okay.
Okay.
Didn't we just talk last week that Quebec is doesn't exist? Yeah.
Contract there, it's not good.
I wanna go to Europe. My people in the summer is so cool.
Mm.
I she bought me gold socks.
Northern part of
Those are the
England.
warmest
It was
things
like-
ever.
Oh, but they also benefited.
She just kind of thought Scotland was in
Ireland,
South
I have to
America.
look at the world
Yeah.
map.
Right beside
They
you.
also-
Where's
I
Scotland?
thought Ireland would have been over here.
Scotland's on the same island as England. It's Northern England.
But they also benefited most
Why?
from government decisions. For the recording, we're having a bit of a rebellion here because they're seeking answers in history that
These
I
are the
haven't
winners of the World-
approved.
These are the
Anyway.
winners of World War II. The good guys.
They were also crap. What do you mean crap? This is top-notch criticisms, Matthew. Also appointed
No, that's Lima.
to.
Here's Samuel.
Okay, bye.
Here's El Salvador.
Okay, for the two people that are still paying attention.
3, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Anyone who challenged the status quo, and I have used that phrase before, and so I expect you should know it. You know, so by this standard, for example, Daniel Smith is challenging status quo,
What?
right? Anyone who challenged the status quo or the existing system where decisions benefited rich, wealthy people, only a few people, not a lot of people, if you challenged that, you were considered dangerous. But we would look at that and say, you know, over time, it was good that they challenged that because they gained more benefits to themselves. They became a fair government system there. Who or what were the reformers? Anybody want to talk about that? Yep.
They were,
Go ahead,
It all
Jess.
changed in time, like they changed
It was
in time.
slow
Yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah. Loyal to the British government, but thought the color.
And
So-
they needed more say in their own government.
Yeah, wanted to change to responsible government. You know, with the will of the people.
Yeah, because they were trying to get it.
Yeah. But not using radical methods, violent methods. You know, they were publishing, articles, petitions to Britain, things like that. So people that were advocating change, but in a healthy way, right? They wanted more, and it wasn't just, it was for political and economic decisions, right? So not just, I think we don't identify the economic part of it so much. So like, what are you spending our taxes on? We want roads, not canals, that kind of thing. That's an economic part of politics or political decisions, right? Specifically, French reformers, if you've got the room, were fighting against what? What were the French worried the most about? Starts with an A. Assimilation.
Hear me out, I think the letter K should not exist.
For real.
Okay.
And it's twins.
Okay, so those are the reformers, and then opposite of the reformers were the radicals. And I'll just scroll up here. And the radicals, what kind of change did they want?
The twins, KKK.
That's triplets.
No, oh my god. The one K has twins.
And a triple.
KKK.
Like,
It's not hard to understand.
the K is the mom and that has two baby Ks?
Yeah.
I'm sorry for whoever's listening to this recording.
Eric is not even listening.
Yeah, I think you might.
Eric in here this.
Let's put a code word.
Okay, what's the code word is
You a little bitch.
snuggles.
Wow.
Snuggles?
No, the code word
Snuggles.
is 13-year-old girls.
No, because I don't condone that. But the code is snuggles. Okay.
Which is what Eric likes to do.
No.
13-year-old girls.
I don't want. We can't do that if he's not here to defend himself
Boom.
or laugh.
That's what Danny does.
Yeah.
Or laugh about it, I said. So they wanted fast change.
Yeah.
Okay, they disliked government as it was, so angry. Are you guys clear on what elites are?
Not
Not Danny.
Just shut up, I guess.
Rich.
It's not Danny.
Angry at elite decision makers doing for themselves. Can I say that?
Sure.
I think you know what I mean. Looking after themselves, right? Building the canals they need so that they can do more shipments, more trade. But it doesn't benefit, 80% of the colonists in the colony whose taxes they're going to use to build that canal, but it benefits them, the wealthy people that get to make decisions, right? Previously, you guys had a sketch, and it talked about the top-down decision. You don't have to write this, but this is the top-down decision-making power. There's a governor in the country. They've elected certain people to positions like an assembly and a legislature, whatever. And then there was a veto line. And then you had the colonists down here that were able to maybe elect or support certain politicians to submit the things that they wanted to happen. But this was a veto line. So if the majority, let's say it's 80% of the colonists said, we want this, propose this, let's vote on this. They could propose something that they really needed, and the people that were appointed to their position, the people of wealth, they could just cross it out. It could be vetoed, even if 80% of the colonists nearby said, we need this. And so that was where there was the imbalance of power, and that's why they want to get rid of the veto line. They want to get rid of the people that are appointed and instead do it so that colonists elect people to these positions, right? So then the greater needs of the people can be addressed by government. That was the difference between the two. Somebody's hand is up. Are you going to talk to me about the letter?
Governor is?
Pardon?
You know who our governor is?
We have a governor general. But that position still exists in Canada. She is the highest level, and essentially what her role is she simply represents the king or queen in Canadian territory when the king or queen is not present. So next week, when is it happening? The Parliament is opening again, and King Charles is coming over, and he is going to read the opening of our Parliament. This is
like old as dust.
he's fairly old, but this is a significant gesture on the part of the king, because you can imagine that his schedule is booked years in advance, and it wouldn't have been on their calendar.
How can you book yours in advance if I croak tomorrow?
No, but I mean, he has still got appearances and all that kind of stuff. He does all sorts of charity work. He goes and travels.
Type of power where you have like your entire freaking year just in
Yes,
the calendar.
but he is the ruler or the
would
sovereign
go
of
insane.
many countries, right? But just think about this. Over the course of many years, he has many dates and positions where he's supposed to be. Now, at the beginning, even at the end of last year, if this is 2024, in his calendar for 2025, it wouldn't have been on his books that there's gonna be a new election in Canada.
No, he
If there
would've had
was, it
no
would have been.
prescription.
It would have been at the end of October. So it's happened.
Friend's funeral.
It's happened way early. So for him to show up and come to Canada to make this gesture to read and open our Parliament, that is a significant move on the part of the monarchy to come to Canada and say, this is the sovereign territory of the British Empire. It's not for sale. It's not a 51st state, right? Like, this is a move on King Charles's part, and it's kind of like boss move to make a point to Donald Trump is my opinion on it. Anyway, okay, the radicals, they wanted fast change, but they did it by violence.
Militias.
Well, the militias were the ones actually opposed to them and stopping them.
On the video it said they had their own.
They came, so a militia simply is the colonists, yeah, the regular colonists that took up arms and created, you know, a kind of band or something, yeah.
Don't put your hand like that.
Do I or no?
She was fine. It wasn't at a 45 degree from her body, and her elbow was bent.
Do wheelchairs have air in the tires?
I
It
love
just came across my mind.
I don't think
Yes.
they do. No, I don't think they.
a flat.
Trust me, they did not.
I don't think they
Wait,
do.
they don't?
No.
I don't think it's a real tire. It's like.
It's simply rubber across the metal frame,
Oh,
like a road bike's tire might be.
so.
I gotta check myself out.
Violence.
Someone needs to assassinate me.
I thought rumble strips were for blind people when they drive.
Whoa, wait, slow down. You say that?
I thought rumble strips like the highway were for blind people.
Actually, did you?
Oh my god. No, you
So you know when you turn, they don't have them anymore?
Yeah, so how do they know what time?
Listen, that just moved.
Slow the hell down.
Not like where they.
Okay. So issues unique to Canada.
The window and he drove the car and he was like crashing into everything and he is like.
I think we've covered this already. Who had power?
Oh, that's hilarious.
We've covered this already.
It is
The
actually.
oligarchies were the ones that had power. Who's the oligarchy for upper?
Family compact.
Yeah, and for lower,
The Ukrainians.
Click.
Nazis.
the chateau. Click. Had power. Yeah, and no power.
To Aboriginal
First
people.
Nation, women.
Shut up, I guess.
No, like,
Trying to help.
am I not writing the same things that you just said?
I know, but. Farmers, reformers, fishers, and loggers.
Yeah,
Don't forget
colonists,
what you have out there.
minorities,
Same for women.
etc. Okay, so that's the difference of who had power and who didn't. Okay, I for sure don't want to get into all of the nuts and bolts of how things all went, because it kind of is
Yeah, I
in your
didn't do
notes
that.
anyway. But you had reformers, and
Go for some chicken.
you should just know that in the upper area, his name was Mackenzie. In the lower area of Canada, it was Papineau. You should know that. They used their newspapers, right? A newspaper man wrote articles, etc. And so did this guy. But they were French version. But eventually, they both became radicals.
I forget his name. Don't mind me, fully.
Cartman?
And
No.
les
Not from South Park,
patriots.
No. Oh. Just ignore me, holy.
We always
Anyway.
do, don't worry.
Oh, I've noticed.
So say leaders.
Leaders
Leaders
of
rebellion.
rebellion.
Kind of like Star Wars.
Did you see that Trump posted on his Truth Social an AI image generated of him as
Vader?
yeah,
No, I didn't.
his
but I
May the
just
4th
assumed.
his May the 4th message. He also AI generated and posted a photo of himself as the Pope after he attended the
I
Pope's
think Trump could be an
after he
awesome
attended the
Pope.
Pope's funeral. So that garnered some attention.
Did you watch that thing I sent you on Instagram?
I did, and I also saw other people comment, or it was reported in the news, later afterwards as well, yeah.
You see the AI made video?
Who is the
Carney?
people?
Yes, I saw the AI made video of Carney.
Yeah,
Did you guys?
it's too like, bro, it's fake. What are you talking about?
But have you seen how many people are angry because they think it's real?
Yeah.
What's
You
real?
can tell it's not real
Okay.
by the weird pause.
Except that this is the extremism that some people have, that they're not using rational thought, right?
It's probably just old people.
I don't think so, because I don't think old people
Voted for him.
are going to be upset that they take tinting off vehicles. Those aren't the ones that are upset by that. Anyway, okay, how did Britain respond? Is they needed to end these rebellions. Let's put an end to all of this. So, new governor,
Chicken strips, $5.
Durham. You know, two main problems identified.
Chicken
In handout notes. Does anybody remember the two main problems that Durham identified to resolve?
Black people and French.
No.
Okay.
You took a chance.
What are your plans for this weekend this morning?
We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, we are.
Can we play some
No, we're not. Seriously, not quite there. Yes, I did say that, but we still have half an hour left in this class.
Exactly, half hour.
What are your plans for this weekend?
Yes, okay, the last 10 minutes.
What are
Do
your
an
plans
air
for this
handshake.
weekend? Give me a fist bump.
Air leg. Okay.
To remove the family.
Remove the family compact, so get rid of the English-speaking elite in Upper Canada and assimilate the French. Okay. What page is that on in there?
7.
You just closed it.
The second last one.
Is page 8? Okay. I'm taking out this question, but we do have to cover E. Want to be really careful about E. Okay, so remember how we said that
Jesse, what does E stand for?
more people,
EA Sports.
but equal politicians as West. And over here, X number of politicians. I don't know what it was. Let's say it's 20. Then over here, but fewer colonists.
Oh, Jesse, guess what I saw last night?
Your island.
My coach.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got, some colonists and 20 representatives, and you've got lots more colonists, and they still only got 20, right? If these are colonists, and that's the number of population in what was Upper Canada, and this is the greater population of what was Lower Canada, but they each only get 20 representatives, 20 votes, that's not equal. So it was unfair, right?
Here's a good question, actually. Is it possible to assimilate the French, like, in today's society?
Nope, I would say they've had, over 150 years of fighting against assimilation. And specifically, here's the definitive reason why you can't assimilate them. Before 1982, you didn't have the Charter of Rights. Since 1982, you do, and it protects language rights and all of those things, and it has the notwithstanding clause. So any law that you as a country tried to create that would assimilate French people, bam, notwithstanding clause.
So then just burn the charter.
You can't burn the charter. That's like saying just burn the Constitution and then we don't have a country anymore.
It's not like ripping up a check.
Remember, I've said it's cemented in place. The Constitution and the Charter are cemented together.
Then break the law.
Okay,
You
so
go try.
Okay, I will.
Okay. You do that.
Tactical new.
You can have anything you want. I'll give you how much money you want.
politicians from East and West worked together
Oh, yeah.
They made a coalition. They worked together and they made a coalition, agreeing to cooperate. Their focus was
All forward.
local needs of colonists. Okay, you could just arrow over, don't worry about it. It's up to you. Okay, I think we're done that, and I'm so excited I get to introduce this assignment to you.
Are you actually excited or?
I think you guys are going to do well with this assignment.
I
I have tried to create assignments that weren't overly
Annoying.
annoying or necessarily boring, that they're not too content specific, but that they also connect to current event kinds of things, right? And so that's what this one does. If you've got that, I'll hand this out to you. We'll do this in steps, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how to write,
S or D.
this looks like it printed.
Neither.
I'll just keep this one and do this. Okay, this is part of the assignment sheet. Some pages stuck together, so that's okay. Here we go.
What?
It's okay. Do you want to write at the top of that 4.5.3? Because then when we talk about these things, there's a number at the top and you can find it more easily. 4.5.3. Wait. Okay, and let me find it. Okay, you guys tell me. We're just going to talk through these things, and actually I could just quickly start.